Welcome to the Shuffle Curious podcast. I'm your host, Patty Lynch. Have you ever seen an amazing shuffler at a show or festival and wondered, how did they get started? How did they develop their skills? And who are they beyond the dance floor? Well, that's exactly what we're exploring in the show. We'll dive into the personal experiences of the dancers that make up our beloved community. We'll be learning more about who they are and what makes this dance so special to them. So, with that, let's jump into the show and let's get curious together. Hello, my Shuffle Curiosities. Welcome to the Shuffle Curious podcast. This is episode 7. And in this episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing my friend, Emeka. Emeka has been a dancer all of his life, but it hasn't been until recent that he started concentrating his energies and efforts into shuffling. And it really does show. He's cultivated a very unique style around shuffling just based off of the experience that he has as a dancer. And we could really relate to this. The shuffle community is really blowing his mind at the moment. He has had many different meaningful experiences and has met a lot of amazing people throughout his journey. And it's been a very short timeline. So he is really enjoying his time being immersed in this community. And I just want to add that he is a new addition to the MHS fam out here in Denver, which has been really fun, palling around with him and just knowing that there's permanence, that he's going to be one of the individuals that we'll always be able to kick it with and go to shows with, festivals, whatnot. So it's been a lot of fun thus far having him, a part of this local community. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Emeka Okoronkwo. Emeka, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Good. All's well, dude. It's great to have you back on the show. A little bit of a folly, just with hitting the record button and the video not popping up. I think it was some kind of glitch with the computer. These things happen. We're learning, growing, evolving, all that stuff. But I am not complaining about having another conversation with you. You know what I mean? And I think we have a lot to elaborate on. We have a couple new things that have come up that I think both of us are very interested in talking about. So I think this will be a lot of fun, and super pumped to have you back on the show. So I think it'll be a good time. But I just want to spin the audience up on how we first met. So I had first met you at ARC last year. So ARC 2022. And it wasn't until Adriana introduced me, our mutual friend Adriana, introduced me to you at ARC. And we basically just spent the whole weekend together, just palling around and having a lot of fun. So I remembered that you had told me that you were kind of like laying low, you were chilling a little bit because you had just hurt your ankle a couple weeks prior. And
that week.
That week. Yeah.
Okay,
got it. The week leading up to ARC. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, if this is him laying low, I want to see what it is when he's absolutely healthy. Because, dude, you were getting it that whole entire weekend, Like we got a couple good like mirrors going. We were just grooving together. Our groups were always crossing paths, because I was there with another group. I was with Boss PPM because my friend Carolina, she invited me to be in that house, and then you guys were off kind of doing your own thing, and then we had a couple other buddies there, like our friend Brent and JT were also there, and they had their groups as well. But so all of our groups were kind of like coming and going, connecting, disconnecting, all that stuff, like going to different stages. So, but I felt like our group with like Adriana, Jared, like yourself and all that stuff, I was constantly finding you guys and, just finding ways to connect with you guys through the music, through the dance, all that type of stuff. So I think that was kind of like a precursor to a really cool relationship. Like now you're here in Denver, and it's been a lot of fun. coming or just hanging out with you. And I think, we've had a lot of really, like, ARC was a very rich experience for us, but like we've had many more since, and I think the future is also going to hold many more as well. So I just want to I want to talk a little bit about my bag getting stolen at ARC, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
So we were still getting to know each other, a little bit. We probably weren't 100% familiar at that time, but we were we were just like vibe checking and making sure we were all good. And we had all of our bags that in one pile. And like you probably didn't know exactly. Like I was wearing like all black that night.
Yeah.
You were still like discovering like what my presence and figure looked like, and we had a bunch of bags in the pile. And I think someone who just looked like me came and grabbed it. And shame on me. Like I was off just like doing my own thing or whatever. Yeah. And I guess you were the closest to the bag pile. And I don't know if you saw the person or whatever else. Yeah, it might have just been my doppelganger. But I remember, dude, like you were so just like, I'm so sorry that this happened. So apologetic. Like it was like tearing you apart. I was like, dude, like it was not your fault, all that stuff. So like it was one of those instances where I was just like, this is a good person. You know what I mean? Like this is tearing him apart right now, and it wasn't even his fault. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that like you were even like responsible for. Like if anything, I was irresponsible in that moment. More like how that story ended was me getting my bag back with all my belongings, and they stole like a phone charger. So if anything, that was like a good data point for me in like a weird roundabout way. Cause like I just knew that like you were an empathetic person. We were on the same wavelength. You wanted to do the right thing, all those things. So I'm actually kind of grateful for that weird hurdle, that happened during that music festival. So yeah, it was a weird way of getting like the vibe check, an instance where you don't wish for it to happen, but on hindsight, it's like, okay, that was actually a really good experience to have, because you kind of see someone's true colors. So, but yeah, man. So I know when we first talked like initially about you coming on the show. I don't know if you remember that, but because it was like a month or so ago, there was like a little bit of hesitancy involved. Would you just be able to kind of speak to that a little bit, and just kind of give your thoughts around maybe like, and don't let me put words in your mouth, like a little bit of like imposter syndrome, because it resonated with me when we had that conversation and having that hesitancy, because like I go through that as well, just like a little bit of that imposter syndrome. So kind of like the floor is yours in regards to that.
Yeah, for sure. I think imposter syndrome is a good way to put it in this case and in some others, but it was more so for me. I'm pretty new as far as like the community and shuffling and going to different events and going to different festivals. So I didn't really think I had the experience to talk about it in length or, what it means to be a part of the community and who I've met and who I've danced with, milestones and things like that. However, you made a great point as far as, the response you had is I do have an experience. Everyone has a unique experience. So when you put it in terms of, how I got from where I started to where I am now, what I've learned and how I go about learning things and who I've met, who's inspired me, things like that. I mean, I would agree with you in saying that, my experience is unique, not like special as in like, it's something that no one's ever heard of, but
like a complete outlier or something like that. Yeah,
for sure. Everyone has a different experience as far as what brought them to, where they are at now. So yeah, I definitely agree on that.
Yeah, man. And I think it's like everyone can learn from everyone at any part of their journey. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what background you're from, how long you've been doing this for, what style you gravitate towards, where you are in life in general. I think like all of us can, and then also on the other side. So it's like if you're learning from that person that has all those variables, it's also the person who is doing the learning can be from all walks of life as well. Like they can be even more of like an experienced shuffler learning from someone who might not have as much experience, because like they might be getting a perspective and looking into like their journey, but through that lens, like, oh wow, this person still has a beginner's mindset and they're climbing the ladder this way. And it's like, I remember when I was like that, I ought to be doing some things that they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, so you can even like look, not, I wouldn't say look down in the sense of like you're better than someone. You're looking down at someone who, like, I'm looking at bar charts here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone is a little bit higher in the bar chart, and then someone is a little bit lower. But someone can very much learn from that the person who is more at the beginning stages of their journeys, and learn from them and what they're doing, and maybe they're progressing faster than how you were before because they're implementing these certain things or these mindsets or whatever else. So it's like I think that I say all that to say that we can learn from everyone. It doesn't matter experience level, background, all these things that I already mentioned. And I think that like you are a case for that. I think everyone's a case for that, So I'm glad that we had that conversation and we kind of, got that understanding together. Because quite honestly, I think your story is very much going to resonate, and your experience is going to resonate with a lot of, the listeners and things like that. So I'm really glad that you're on, man.
Appreciate it.
We can start rolling into your background just to kind of get listeners spun up on the context of your shuffle journey and things of that nature. So if you could just describe where you're originally from, and where you're originally from, and then how long have you been in Denver, Colorado?
Yep. I'm from Topeka, Kansas, which is the capital city, but not really a place to speak about. And I went to college in Kansas as well, and then moved to Kansas City, was there for a few years, and then I moved to Denver February of this year.
Been here ever since.
Yep.
Real quick, how's it treating you?
It's been a lot of fun. It's kind of weird to explain because it's something I've never experienced before. As far as like the amount of fun I've had, I just feel like it's a constant, I don't want to say party because that's not all I do, but the community here, as far as being around you guys and all the different events I've been a part of, and experiences that I've been a part of that kind of didn't really have in my earlier 20s, I would say, is kind of mind-blowing. So yeah, it's been fantastic, more or less.
And we can unpack that, over the course of the interview, just with there's a lot of, I can just name off the top of my head, a lot of, like I said, rich experiences that I've already had with you being here, and then even before that. So I can definitely attest to your time here and, validate those remarks. The other questions that I have for you, first, just to give the listeners a little bit better look at as to who you are. How were you as a kid? And then I'll follow that up with how long have you been shuffling for?
Okay. As a kid, I'm going to speak on like middle school and prior. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was terrible. I was pretty sure that like 95% of the teachers that I had hated me. I wasn't like, I was just bad in the sense of I wanted to joke all the time, and I didn't really give a shit about school.
Got it.
So I was always in the back cracking jokes, being a class clown. Not so much like being disrespectful, but I was disruptive, just making jokes and being being a dickhead with my friends.
Got it. Marching to your own drum and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then once I got to high school, I got more serious when it came to like sports. So I had to not be much of a class clown in the class.
Yeah.
But
there are repercussions for your actions, and yeah, I got you.
It definitely held me back, like in middle school, because there were times when I got in trouble and then I couldn't play in a game with my team, football season. So, it kind of bit back, but I didn't really change in a sense. I just stopped doing it in class and then
Calibrated
kept
it
outside. And then to answer your other question, how long I've been shuffling?
And can I just caveat this question?
Yeah.
I know you don't like this question, and I would also like you to describe as to why you don't like being asked. How long you've been shuffling for?
Yeah, for sure. I would say because it's kind of tough to really say, like, not to really say, but to track how long you've been doing something if you're not constantly doing it. But if you are constantly doing it, then it's more easier. So say you could have first shuffled 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And if it's not something you constantly do, then would you be able to call yourself a shuffler? I mean, but you could say that with any hobby or profession.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I say 2 years ago, because that was when I went to my first festival and I saw some guy shuffling and I was like, damn, that looks hella fun. I want to do that now. And then I kind of got addicted to going to dance and going to festivals and shuffling. And then that's when I really started trying to like constantly do it and get better. But before that, prior to that moment, I'd known about shuffling since like LMFAO dropped that song.
Yeah.
Every day I'm shuffling. But it wasn't something that I was passionate about. It wasn't something I constantly did every day. I kind of saw the music videos like that look cool because I've always danced. Not always, but I've danced for a while, just in other forms. But shuffling wasn't a part of like my life at that point. So I can't say that I've been shuffling since then, but I've known about it since then.
Yeah, I think it is very much an ambiguous question. It's like when does it start?
Yeah.
When does do you if you have started and it's a very strong practice regimen and then you take a hiatus, like does that part count? You know what I mean? Like I think it's for everyone kind of to determine on their own, and then at the same time it's like I don't know if it should really mean much if someone says I've been shuffling for 10 years or I've been shuffling for 5 years or whatever, like basing your own maybe like I just feel like there shouldn't be any judgment that comes from that number. You know what I mean? Like should I respect this person more? Should I treat them different? It's like no, you know what I mean? Like it's like an assessment over time. It's just like you're just learning about a person. Like I don't think it should have any bearing as to how you treat them or any of that thing. It's just like a nice tidbit to know, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool to know that you've been doing this just for 2 years, like with focus, and how far you've come and how your style has developed as well, because you have like a hip hop. It's more of like a hip hop background, right? Like you would say you're more of like a hip hop dancer before you picked up shuffling, correct?
Yeah.
And then you've kind of integrated those over time. So, what were you had kind of teased at this just like a little bit. What was like the first time that you saw shuffling and that you knew it started to like really pique your interest?
Definitely 2 years ago when I was at a festival in Kansas City called Dance Festopia. I made friends with a guy named Denzel, who's actually originally from here, I believe, but he's traveling right now, so he's not currently in Denver. And I haven't, I don't think I've spoken to him or seen him since I've moved here. I'm not sure where he's at now, but that was the first time where I saw it live and in person. I was like, wow, he's really good. But I'd seen, I've seen videos of shufflers before that, like on the internet, but it wasn't like, it didn't really hit then. I thought it looked cool, but seeing it live and in person was what kind of changed my perspective on it for sure 2 years ago.
Got it. Just like what was it about shuffling that made you want to embark on this journey? Like that ground zero type moment, like, were you looking for a way to express yourself to this kind of music? Like, were you starting to develop a love for the music, and then like after that it's like, okay, I want expression for this music as well? Like, what was your internal dialogue upon seeing it?
It was more an expression for the music, because I have been listening to house music for a while now, and even though my taste has changed within house music, I had still been going to like smaller shows in my hometown or not in my hometown, in Kansas City where I lived at the time and prior, for house music, but it wasn't something that really like I wanted to go out and do. Like, I didn't want to go see shows that were playing house music so that I could shuffle. It was like, maybe go out and dance, but there wasn't a lot. I didn't really see really good shufflers in person, so it wasn't. It didn't really hit. So when I saw it in person, it kind of like hit for me, because it was, one, I really liked the music, and two, I saw that as the best way for me to express myself. But it wasn't a part of my life at the time. So when I saw someone really good doing it, and it was the fact that they looked like happy and like they were expressing themselves, and I was like, you know what I'm saying? And it was a good person too. Like, I talked to him afterwards, made a connection. And I've also found that within the community as well. When I've been to other festivals and seeing other people expressing themselves happy, and then talking to them, most of the interactions have been, really beautiful. So it's also helped in a sense of, I thought it was a great interaction that I had with him. So it's like, wow, this is the kind of people that like to go out and express themselves. I would like to meet more people like this, but I want to be able to express myself with them.
Got it. Yeah, like I guess like the data point of just seeing shuffling and being like, okay, that expression is something that would probably look good on me, or I'd want it to. And then having that interpersonal interaction as well probably even bolstered that, and it was just like, okay, no, this is really something that I want, because I know that there are people like me or who are on the same wavelength that are doing this dance, so that was probably very helpful. Like, who knows, maybe you would have had a different impression if like that guy was a douche, or maybe like the expression of that dance would have been so strong that you still would have been like, well, that guy, you maybe wrote it off, and then continued to be curious about it. But it's so awesome that you also had a good personal experience with it too. So from that point, that was kind of like ground zero. What did you do after Dance Festopia? You know what I mean? Were you hitting YouTube videos? Were you reaching out to the people who you met, for pointers? Like, how did you go about seeing what you saw and then, incorporating it into your dance from that point on?
So after I connected with Denzel, that was my first festival. So I asked him, yo, what are some other good festivals? What festival are you going to next? And then he told me EDC Vegas, which was, I think, the next month or a few weeks out. So I had just decided to send it to EDC Vegas, which was one of the most expensive trips I've ever made. I'll never send it last minute to a festival that big, because it was like it was crazy. No shuttle pass, so Ubering to and from
Yeah.
festival grounds, super expensive. Great experience, but it was draining. That was my next step. Just went there. It was funny because like that festival was so big, I didn't even get a chance to link up with him. But I still had a great time. I understood it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't a big deal. But outside of that, I think that was around the same time when I wanted to start like making dance videos, like and posting them on the internet because it's always been something I wanted to do. But as far as the process of learning new stuff, I didn't really. I was just trying to make stuff up on my own, just out of my head. And I remember looking back at the videos I've made now, a lot of the stuff I did looked more like shaping. But
Okay.
obviously, if you've seen me dance, you know that I'm not a shaper
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like I'm actually bad. So
No, I think I think you're capable, and like you do a lot of intricate footwork, but I don't. Yeah, it's hard. I wouldn't. I think you're very hybrid. You know what I mean? You're very hybrid in the way that you're moving. But I wouldn't be like he's a shaper. You know
no,
what I mean? Or
no.
he does Melbourne or whatever else. It's just like it's like a mixture of everything, and that's why it's so cool to watch because it's a little bit unpredictable, and you're totally okay with letting the beat just do its thing, and like you're just grooving. Like how some people feel like me being one of them feels like they have to hit the beat every single time. Like you let it carry away. You'll do some hip hop stuff, and then you'll jump right back into more of like that four on the floor, like hit every beat. So sorry, I just had to interject there.
No, you're good.
Continue.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, but yeah, beginning stages was a little more shapy movements, and looking back now, it was I don't even like looking back at these videos just because I mean I like looking back in a sense of I feel like I've progressed, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like damn, what was I doing? But that was really it. It wasn't until like how I look at learning now. It wasn't until honestly later last year when I went to the Mile High Shuffle like kill off battle, and then Arc as well. When I saw really really good shufflers in person,
Yeah.
is when I started to think about it differently. And also, I did a 30-day shuffle challenge as well, where I was able to learn new moves and things like that. It was when that was late last year, was when I really started to look at progressing differently because I had direction. And then I was able to learn there were other styles of shuffling, for instance, like Moss, for instance. And then I had things I could actively work on rather than just trying to make stuff up out of my head, which wasn't working.
So you feel like Arc probably was maybe your biggest like shuffler centric festival that started to kind of open up doors in your own mind as to how you wanted to go about your shuffle journey in like a more methodical way.
Yeah, that was one of them. I wouldn't say the biggest, but it was the start
Okay.
of me changing how I looked at shuffling as a whole and what works for me as far as like progressing.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah, it's I think those events do a lot for you. There's a theme here on the podcast where it's like people get inspiration and level ups and more direction in their journey by like attending these things, whether that be festival, show, battles, meetups. There's there's something about just collecting like inspiration and how other people are going about the dance and interacting with them, like being able to pick their brain. Even if like no words are spoken, it's like you're still seeing how their brain is working. You know what I mean? And you can kind of emulate that. So, um, how was your experience at the MHS Kill Off? Was that your first battle experience? Like, either in person or because I know you. I don't have the whole timeline as to like your battle career, but I'm not sure if you did an online thing first and then like you did that. Like, could you just describe that?
Yeah. My first ever battle was actually the Nameless Shuffle battle last year, which was, I think, right before or right after ARC. I can't remember. And that was my first one. So I got knocked out like in the first round. Didn't even do well. But that was prior to me. Actually, it was before ARC.
No, I think it was, dude. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was after because I think that we connected in ARC, and then I because I remember I was like, I saw someone posting one of your runs on from Nameless, and they were like, "Hey, can someone identify the shuffler?"
Oh yeah,
and I was like, "That's Emeka." You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
he's getting it right now. So I think it was afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see you there too. I was like, the man flew to New York City to like do a battle. You know what I mean? I didn't the enthusiasm, even though like I knew that you were into shuffling and stuff when we connected at ARC, I just didn't know to what extent, you know, and I was like, oh shit, you flew to New York to like to battle, you know, that's pretty cool. And then we started chatting about that you'd be coming to the kill off and whatnot. So but yeah, so I think it was after ARC. How was your experience there? You said you got knocked out, but like, you know, did you derive any like lessons from that one?
Yeah. That one was more of, for me personally, it was, I made good connections there. But yeah, I did get to see really good shufflers. But I think there was more of an imprint made on me at the Mile High Shuffle kill off, like here in Denver. That one, yeah, it did go better for me, but I think I definitely saw a lot more shufflers that, like, I resonated with their styles a lot more. And yeah, it was really nice to see them live giving their all, and I was able to like absorb their energy and even some of their styles, because after that, like, what I used to do is, well, I still do sometimes, like having solo sessions and just me in a mirror playing music. I would find myself like replicating moves that I saw like out of nowhere. But I was like, where did I knew it wasn't from me. And I was like, where did I learn that from? And then I was like, oh, it was this shuffler, and I'll just go ahead and name the shufflers that I'm thinking of.
Oh, send it.
The ones that really stood out the most to me were Jenna, Taylor, Ellie, who I actually battled, and Sabri as well.
The dream team.
Yeah. And Chelsea for sure.
Yeah.
The Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
The Ninja Turtle squad with Master Splinter.
For the for the audience that doesn't know, everyone who was just mentioned, they drove to the MHS kill off in a van. Like they all they kind of made a trip out of it. I think they were coming from Michigan, if I'm not wrong, but they just brought such a presence. You know what I mean? Like it was all of them have like this really good feminine energy that they bring to their dance. So like you just knew that they were a part of like their crew. And they I had talked to Jenna a couple weeks after that, and she was just telling me like they would all like practice together. They would do they would all like kind of group huddle and talk about not like their strategy, but just like getting their expectations in check from the people who have already battled and the ones that it was their first time, and they were all kind of like on the same page. It was actually really cool to hear about. So, and then they brought that presence to the kill off, and it was really cool to see all of them battling other people, but then also battling each other. It was all like in love, you know, for the dance and the music and things like that. So, tangent aside, but like I'm right there with you. Like they were an inspiring bunch, and it was really cool to see them do their thing. Any other shufflers that inspired you? Also from Nameless too. You know what I mean? If like there's anyone who stood out from Nameless, that would be cool to kind of mention.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of really good shufflers there, but it didn't really they didn't resonate with me as much.
Yeah.
As far as what helped me progress, like in discovering my own style.
Understood.
As far as like how I move and everything, and sort of like a hybrid approach. But that, like at MHS, it was, yeah, it was kind of eye opening for me. So that was, I think, another milestone as far as like opening my eyes into how I go about learning and what works for me and things like that.
And I think with that experience, like it wasn't just the kill off, it was also just like everything around it too. We had like a meetup the next day, and it's like, so the people who you were probably inspired by, you got more interactions with them. You got to see them doing their thing, like not even in the ring, but also when they're just labbing and bullshitting and doing what else. And I think that's why the kill off was so special. It's because people came early, you know, and we got to vibe with a lot of out of state shufflers. But even before the battle started, battle happened. And then it was like the perfect day at Cheeseman Park, you know, the day afterwards for our meetup that followed the battle. And pretty much everyone in attendance from the battles was at that meetup. And it was very much just like community building, camaraderie building, that sort of thing. So I think if you had a rich experience at the battles just by itself, it became even more rich, you know, by attending those meetups and being able to talk to all your inspirations and things like that. So it was a very, I found it to be a rich experience, even though I got knocked out like before qualification round or for the qualification rounds rather. Were there any other battles or festivals that really come to mind, or these events that we're talking about where it's like you had these milestones that really stand out in a pivotal point in your shuffle journey?
Yeah. The next one for sure would be Dream State.
Yeah.
Of course. Not only the group that we went with was, you know, amazing, but the experience, the transfer of energy from all the really, really good shufflers there. The music, my introduction to psytrance. Well, actually, not first, because we played a little psytrance at the Mahai Shuffle Kill-Off.
Yeah.
However, I hadn't heard it like that.
Yeah.
Festival's different from, you know, a battle or even a smaller show. Hearing it at a festival with all
the sound
that
system, like
different.
The kick penetrates you in like a way that like you just didn't see coming. The psytrance stage was crazy. I just knew that like if I was like dragging ass or anything like that, and we were heading to the psytrance stage, like I would be reinvigorated, you know, one way or another.
Definitely remember day 2 when we started there. Like when we got on the ground, straight to the psytrance stage. So it was a really, really mind-boggling experience, because everyone, I feel like in our group, can attest to the kind of transformation that kind of happened within their own journeys. I feel like we all kind of had a little level up of our own. And it was very strange for me. I know I had mentioned this before, because when I got home, I felt like I wasn't the same person. Like I felt like I couldn't move the same way I was moving at Dream State. And it took a minute for me to feel like I was back at the level I was at, whatever that may mean, when we were at Dream State.
You felt so you felt like it was like leading up to Dream State, like a blip, you know what I mean? Level up, and then it kind of plateaued out to the normal progression, and then like you had another dip up essentially.
I feel like I actually regressed after Dream State. I feel like I went to a point and then came back to the point like it wasn't real. I mean, obviously it was. I mean, we were all there and it have the memories of it. However, I came back home and didn't really feel like I gained anything. I felt like it was kind of like a dream. So, however, it did happen. And I think a couple weeks after, and even later on, at a festival I went to over New Year's, I felt like I had like recalibrated or gotten back to that point.
Locked in those
So
gains that you thought was a phantom or something like that. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think, I think that maybe the body and the mind just needs to like synthesize and process like what the hell just happened, you know? Because it's a lot packed into 2 days, like all that experience, you know, not even just like at the festival grounds, like you're having these experiences with, you know, other people. You're getting to know them more, like you're in an intimate environment. Then you go to this festival and it's like it's so overwhelming with all the stimulation, and then at the same time you're still meeting all these people, and I think your brain's just trying to categorize all of it and process it. And a couple days is not enough time for you to really come to grips with what actually just happened. You know what I mean? On an emotional level, on a physical level, on a spiritual level. You know what I mean? All that takes time. And so yeah, it was probably like a little bit disheartening in the beginning to be like, oh shit, like were those gains actually captured or are they fleeting? But then to know that, you know, you just need to give yourself a little bit of time for them to come to fruition for yourself, you know? Um, yeah, that was an interesting time, man. And I think what contributed to the environment was like just all those like crews there, like that crew energy. Like I know like my crew, Sideshow Shufflers, was there like in force, FTS in force,
yeah,
you know, and it was so cool just to see that dynamic because I still am very new to Sideshow, but seeing the camaraderie that was going on there, and then you know how this is FTS's turf essentially, you know, with the energy that they brought, and then all just the little pockets of shufflers in between, you know what I mean, and all the meetups that were happening, and just like the energy exchanges, and just fire music
yeah,
everywhere, you know? Like there wasn't a stage that you went to and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the next one. It's like there was a pull, like it was like a gravitational pull wherever you were. It's like you were being like sent to that stage from like some kind of magnetic type of pull. So yeah, that I think a lot of us leveled up there, and but it's interesting the aftermath of that, like the sustaining of the transformation. So you felt like it wasn't until what festival did you go to where it was like, okay, it's back?
yeah. Proper, which was New
Okay,
Year's Eve, New Year's Day in San Diego.
that's a lot of time. That's like over a month.
Yeah, it was about a month, well, just over a month, because
Hmm.
Dream State is, I think, what, the 18th, 19th or something
Yeah,
like that, and
yeah,
then
a little after mid November.
yeah, but it was also in the month of December, which is when I did the 30 30-day shuffle challenge, or
Hmm.
31-day, with the O Town Shufflers.
Yeah,
I had met David Dancing Ditto at the Mile High Shuffler
that's right.
kill off, and then just stayed connected with him. He posted a thing on his story, and I was like, sure. I thought, because I had felt like like not progressing, and then
Mm.
I felt like it was something that could help me progress, and I feel like it did, even though I didn't even finish it. I got about 15 days in. I was like, yeah. So
It'd be like that.
yeah, and I'm not, I just felt like I got to the point of, it felt like I was working on things that I didn't want to work on,
Mm.
and which can be good for growth.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to direct my attention towards other things, and I wanted to work on other things. However, the 15 days that I did put in, I really enjoyed, and I felt like I got really good runs at. I still like looking back at those runs, even though it wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
I feel like I've came a long way, but it helped. But then decided to go to proper, and I had a really good time, even though it was a monsoon the first day. It just rained a ton. Second day was a little bit of rain, but the music was really good. And there were a lot of really good shufflers there as well, like from the San Diego area, and some I met from out of state as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of helped, being able to dance with really good shufflers out there to some really good music.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, don't beat yourself up about the shuffle challenge. Like that's what they're there for. It's like you can pick it up, put it down, however you'd like. You probably got like the minimum effective dose from that. You know what I mean? Like you might have had diminishing returns over time if you were to complete it. No offense to O-Town Shuffler Challenge. You know what I mean? Any of
Yeah.
that stuff. It would have been the same thing if you were doing the MHS Shuffle Challenge or any other Shuffle Challenge where it was like, okay, I'm at the point where I think I've gotten a lot out of this, and I want to divert to something else. That's your own self assessment. You know what I mean? I think the intent of those shuffle challenges is just like a little bit of accountability, a little bit of structure, the things that are sometimes hard, for people to implement into their practice. And once you've got that and you're running with it, then I think that it's okay to detach, from that once you've got it. But it's also very cool that you went to proper and you got a lot of these inspirations, and you were put back into probably a similar environment to dream state, not 100%, but have you ever heard of someone when someone says like, when you're studying and like you're chewing gum, like, and then you take a test again, and then if you chew gum, it'll help with recall from what you were studying, things of that nature.
Yeah.
It's like when you're put back into an environment where you were absorbing all this information and you're integrating it from the past, and like now you're back in it again. There's like recall that might be happening for the subconscious. That's kind of how I see these events. So I don't know. I'm hypothesizing right now, but that might have been what cauterized all of your gains and the progression that happened during dream state. Just to have that recall, be back in the environment, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I've started to try and consciously be aware of when I feel like I'm at my best when I'm dancing. So, and I've kind of narrowed it down to when it's really good live music playing, and I'm also surrounded by good people with good energy and other like really good dancers, because I can go in the gym or I can play some music at home that like music I know that I like and dance. And, maybe like if I recorded myself, probably have some good runs, every now and then. But there's something about being in an environment with other people who you share the same energy with, who you really vibe with, who also, love the music and dancing as with you and really see you in like dancing and being in that type of environment. There's something about that you can't like replicate on your own, especially when you're not the DJ. But the music's still really good, but when you're not the DJ, it kind of flips something for me. Along with the environment, it just helps me get in like a different type of like mindset, like a flow state, if you will. So I think that plays a big part in that dream state. I didn't realize it back then at dream state. I couldn't really put a name to it. So when I got back home, I felt like I was in a way different environment, and it just didn't click for me. So I just got back to regular schedule. Then when I went out again to another festival, it kind of turned back up, but it's starting to connect for me. Like those are the things that help me progress the most, is the environment, the people I'm surrounded with. So moving here obviously has been one of the best decisions for me, because the community here is, amazing.
Yeah.
So.
And you're exposing yourself to an environment that's more commensurate to how you progress. Just like even at like Red Rocks the other day when we were at Boris, like that was kind of an environment that I feel like you're talking about right now, where it's like surrounded by good people, music's bumping, you have the ambiance of nature and things like that. I know you didn't say that, specifically, but I'm sure it's not hurting. And like all those things, and you have access to those types of environments more readily here as well. So you're able to like replicate that for yourself, how you're best able to instill these level ups, for yourself. I just want you had went back to dream state, and I just want to backpedal a little bit there too, because I don't want this to go undiscussed. But you had an interaction with an individual who had a pretty big impact on you at dream state. It was someone that you kind of just, it was like an in the wild type moment. You didn't really see it coming. Can you just describe this story for us? Because I think it's very special.
Yeah. Yeah. We were at the main stage. I remember, I think it was day one, because I remember what I was wearing. It was definitely day one. Don't remember who was.
You had the mask on, right?
Yeah.
Was that, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking I was wearing a black and white outfit, mostly black, but don't remember who was playing during that set. However, JT and I were just, bopping around, shuffling to some good music. And then this guy comes up and, like, I don't remember if he asked if he could. I think he just like, yeah, it's a cool vibe. Kick it with you guys. It's cool if I dance too. I was like, of course. And then he just completely went off. It was honestly, like, as far as in-person runs I've seen, for me, I think I can say it was the best for me personally. And his name is Matt. He actually doesn't have an Instagram, but another friend of mine who lives in California, and he told me he was from the Bay Area.
Okay.
So another friend of mine who lives in California sent me the shuffle page for, like, San Francisco Bay Area page. And then I saw they hosted, like, an event, like a battle event, and he was one of the judges. So they did a judge showcase, as, they do at battles.
Yeah.
And I found him, and still just as sick as when I saw him in person. But that run will forever be imprinted in my head. I mean, I've seen some really good runs. No shade to anyone else I've seen, but that was in person one of the best runs I've seen. It was just, very, very clean, rocking, very like the turns he, like, I've showed you the video, so you kind of know, but it was very, very good.
We'll put that video in the show notes too. And I think that's very special too, that he just doesn't have an Instagram. You know what I mean? There's a notion there, and I don't want to put, words in his mouth or to forecast, but, like, there's a notion there that the man does it for the dance and the dance only. Like, there's no limelight involved or anything like that. It's probably very special to him. And it seems like he's probably put a lot of time into it as well, especially to be asked to be a judge, in that scenario too. I think that's just a cool story. Like, doesn't have an Instagram or anything like that. You had to find him through a community page and things of that nature. So very, very cool to hear about. And dude, I think that even though I say that's very special, which it is, I also think that this community just harbors so many individuals like that they just have, like, these these unique stories, and very talented, of course, but you've had firsthand exposure to, like, what this community is, and I think in a very short period of time, like, you've just seen how many, like, the levels to all of this, and your most richest environment, or excuse me, your most rich experiences have been in environments where they're full of shufflers. So would you be able to just, like, to talk about how you kind of had to take a step back and just be like, wow, this is more than just a dance. There's a ton of people who I'm on the same wavelength with, and they're making this experience more rich for me as well, just learning and going through the progression of learning this dance.
Yeah. Ever since I started, trying to travel and go to events and festivals, I've met some of the, dopest people that I've met in life, and people I'm sure I'll be connected with from here on out. It's been, I don't know, it's been a not weird, but I think it's been a blessing, the transition has been unexpected because like this wasn't in my plans as far as, things that I wanted to do in life or like places I wanted to move. Denver kind of popped up out of nowhere. But the interactions I've had and the experiences I've had since I've moved here, or before I moved here, which had caused me to move here, were kind of like truly eye-opening. The experiences I've had, the people I've met, when I came and visited here, and I went out to the Kyle Watson show with you and Trent and Kaya and Mario. Who else was there? I think it was Adriana was there, obviously.
Yeah. I forget who else.
I think it might have. I don't know.
But yeah. Well, you know who you are.
That weekend was some of the most fun I ever have had. And Adriana was telling me, yeah, it's like that every weekend. And I was like, what? So, but I mean, I just loved going out and dancing to good music. And the fact that having access to that here is like a regular thing was like kind of mind-boggling for me. And the group that I was with, like everyone was just having a good time. The vibes are on. Just great group of people. And once I got home, it felt, I don't want to use the word empty, but it felt like I was missing something.
There's a stark contrast.
Yeah, very, very. So that was when I was like, I should probably just go ahead and move there. Like it just kind of felt right. So did what I had to do and moved out here as soon as I could. Had to wait till my lease was over. But yeah, that was when I decided from that night, it was like, yeah,
the die is cast. Like
Definitely
it shall
one.
happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was like a really great night. And it's so cool that, because I didn't know it at the time, of course, like we were having fun. I remember even like after the show, we were just like in Adriana's car, just being goofy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I forget where we were even going, but like all of us were just like vibing. I think we were going to go get food or something like that. So it's like, it wasn't even just at the venue. It wasn't even just like the dance that we were sharing. It's just like, even outside of that environment, it's just like, all right, Emeka's a Mahai shuffler. Like, you know what I mean? Whether he lives here or not, like one of us, like that sort of thing. But I also love the show because we were all on the same wavelength. I don't know if you remember, we were like fighting for our life in the one corner and we were in a traffic area. Like it wasn't like the best for dancing, but we were kind of like carving out a pocket. And then eventually we found another spot across the way, and we had much more room to dance, and it was a ton of fun. But I remember there was a light that was kind of just like annoying, and you and I were off to the side, and we were like scheming, you know what I mean? Like, all right, where is the light switch? Like, it's probably got to be in the back somewhere. Maybe if you get on my shoulders, we can unscrew the light bulb. Like, we were just trying to figure out like how to get this light off so that it would be a better environment to dance in, essentially. So I knew that in that moment, like I found someone who was like sharing the enthusiasm and just like the shuffle crackheadness that comes with, this dance at times. And I don't know if you remember as well, like there was also like an incident where like a guy was being weird towards like a girl, and like Trent saw it first and like said something, and then like I came up and then did it again. And I think like you came to us afterwards and you're like, is everything okay? Like, like everyone was like kind of trying to like take care of each other, and there was overall concern. It wasn't someone like in our group. Yeah. It was just like an incident that we were kind of viewing from afar. But like, there was just like, we were having a great time. We were all on the same page with the dance and the music, but it was also just like that consideration for everyone and making sure that everyone was good within our group and then outside of our group, that, it just felt like you were a part of us and like the values that we had as well. So even though this was a decision-making point for you to like move out here, I think it was also like it was very much a decision making point for the rest of the group to be like, friggin' Emeka's dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and we want him around more, like that sort of thing. So I'm glad that we all had that experience. And I'm glad that, you know, shortly after that, like you made this place home. So it really is a testament to the community, you know, and the people that you find, because I don't think the love for the dance would be as much for like me or for you if it wasn't like the people who was also involved at the same time. You know what I mean? And you've said it yourself, like when you were talking about these environments that most cater to you having the best progress with the dance, it's like the energy that people emit as well as all the other things, you know, the DJ, the environment, things like that. So I know that with that, you've probably been tapping into like more flow states and things of that nature when you're surrounded by people that you know, like, and trust, and they're emitting this good energy. So I know we wanted to talk a little bit about that, just like entering into flow states. So is that a fair statement to make, that the people that you surround yourself around, you've been able to kind of tap into that a little bit more often, frequently, and for longer?
Yeah, for sure. It's it's weird talking about it because it's not something I've ever really discussed until I felt it with shuffling, like with dancing, because it's something I've been in before, but with like sports, like say I'm having a really good game, like, or even like competitive, like video games, like, I don't know, maybe I'm popping off on Call of Duty or Apex Legends or something. Like you have really good games where you're just like in a zone.
Yeah.
There's many names for it: in the zone, flow state, things like that. But with shuffling, it's a little bit more difficult to tap into by myself. So for instance, when I'm shooting a video, I know sometimes I'll know when I had a really good one. Like I'll know, like, okay, I really like what I just did, and then I'll watch it and I'm like, okay, that's the one. And there's a couple of videos I can point out even for myself where that happened. However, it might take a long time for that to happen. Say if I'm trying to record a video and, you know, I'll just record runs, but none of them feel good, and then one time it'll just click. It's harder by myself. However, I feel like I said, because, you know, I'm playing the same song over and over again. I'm the only one there. It's just me. However, as I mentioned earlier, with the different environments, say I'm surrounded by, you know, the homies, it's live music, so I don't know what's being played next. But if it's really good, if I'm, you know, the weather's good, or, you know, we're in a good environment, the floor's good, like not sticky or something. And it's a little bit different. So I'll just find myself just, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just hear a song that you may know or not know, but it really like hits.
Hypnotic.
So it'll be, for me, how to describe it for me is, it's kind of like a slow, like, build up, like within my head, like, and then I'll not black out, but I'll be like,
You're tapped in.
yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like things just become like super, like, clear.
Fluid. Yeah, like there's no resistance involved, or patterns, or, you know, it's very much like the music is dictating.
I'm truly, or sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm truly not thinking about what I'm going to do next, which can be good and bad. But it's gotten better with me, because sometimes I'll just let it happen. But I'm trying to do better about actually being conscious of what I'm doing. So, because I feel like that helps me progress, because I'm always trying to progress in a sense, but not always thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I try to think about more of what I'm doing rather than just letting things happen. But kind of doing a little bit of both, because I do like being in the moment and just letting things happen because
Yeah.
it feels good. But I also like to see myself and be conscious of how I'm moving and what I'm doing. So
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for both. There's like dedicated rehearsal, for movement, which like you're rehearsing it into your muscle memory, which is not if you're working on something new, you're probably not going to be in a flow state. Maybe that practice session, maybe in a flow state in the way that you're so focused on what you're working on that it becomes like because a lot of people do like mantras are an example when you like repeat something over and over and over again like that can get you into a flow state. There's like a professional mud runner. I forget what her name is, but when she's training she listens to the same song over and over and over again, and it's her way of like getting into a flow state. So I think that like maybe you can achieve something like that when you're practicing, just like the repetitiveness of all of it. um, but I think that when you're just like letting the other type of environment where you're just like letting loose and going into a flow state, it's kind of like the accumulation of all the work that you've put in being showcased. You know what I mean? This is where just like your brain has no barriers as to what it's throwing out there. It's picking things that it feels like it's the best. It's picking things based off of your intuition, that that the music is dictating to it, if that makes sense.
yep,
And it's just like an open format for what you've learned up until this point in time. And I think there's a place for both of those things. One of them is kind of to, but I also think you can level up from both of those. You know what I mean? Because like maybe you've in that open format, you've integrated moves that you've never integrated before, or concepts that you've never integrated before, just because your intuition said like this is the best look right now. Sorry, but you know what
yeah,
I mean.
yeah,
And then like, but you didn't even realize that you were doing it until someone caught it on camera, or like you noticed maybe after your run. I was like, I just did that. You know what I mean? Like how? So I think all of them have a time and a place, and they can be tapped into at certain points in time. But it's a very interesting concept to even think about. That there's some periods where we're just way more in tune with our body and our mind, but we can also just let it go and let it do its thing. It
yeah,
feels good at the same time.
yeah,
There's no one in a flow state that who's like going through it and like it sucks. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
always feel like it's a pleasant experience for all of us. So
Yep.
very, very interesting. There's also times where, and this is like the cardinal sin, I feel like, of shuffling and having these moments, is when someone cuts off your flow state, you know? And I think that is achieved in many different ways. And I'm not using the word achieved in like a good way. And like, the reason why I bring this up, number one, because I think it's important to talk about, and then number two, we've had a recent event here where I was a third party observer of someone coming up to you and pretty much pulling you straight out of a flow state that you jumped in for yourself. And so, can I just tell the
Yeah,
story
for sure.
from my eyes? So I was working at Vinyl. Who did we see?
Simon Doty.
Simon Doty. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was a killer set too.
Yeah.
I really like Simon. So I was working, but shout out to Simon. He didn't want anything to do with me. He was very self-sufficient. Didn't really ask for much. So that gave me the opportunity to come and hang out with you. Brent was there. Who else was there with us? It might have just been us. I think we were
I
just vibing.
think Josh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Josh did come through. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. So it was us three, and so we were just dancing, bullshitting. We were having a lot of fun. Like we were getting it, and I kind of saw it in your eyes, like a song came on where you were like, okay, this is it. And you started kind of like getting the back and forth motion of a rock, like a resemblance of a rock, and a little bit of like kind of like that hip hop that you'll do as a precursor to your movement. And then you started going in, and I saw this lady behind you. She she was amazed by like your movement, and she was really excited, you know. And I see her start pulling out her phone as like you're really getting into it. And this is probably like maybe 20 to 25 seconds like into your run, and you start kind of doing a rocking back and forth motion. And she takes out her phone, turns on the light, and basically when you are coming back from your rock, she is there to meet you with a phone in your face, like literally like inches away from your face. And then you just froze. It was almost like a deer in headlights. And I just saw it, and it was the most discouraging thing because you were having the time of your life before that happened. And then the moment that happened, like you were stiff as a board and like uninspired, and it was almost like zapped from you. And after that, it probably 3 seconds went by that like you kind of came to grips with what happened. She started to say, "No, keep going," and you just weren't about it, and rightfully so. And I'm not saying any of this to like admonish this person, but it was like a lack of awareness. And I don't expect anyone to totally get how shufflers move, how shufflers feel about being filmed, how shufflers, take those instances. But I did feel like it was very inconsiderate of her, and just looking at your reaction to it as well. If I was on the other side of the camera and I saw your face and like what had just happened, I would have apologized. And I don't know if she even did that. I'm not sure that she did. But just to finish off the story, she kind of just went off into a corner. You obviously didn't dance for her when she was prompting you to. And I went up to you and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry that happened. Like that was kind of crappy. I saw everything. And I've at that moment, like after kind of getting you, like I remember what you said to me. You said, it's not okay. It was, I'm not okay, but like we're good. Like that sort of thing. Like it did affect you. And I remember I went over to her, and in a tactful way. Like I don't want to be a douche or anything like that, but when I see that someone kind of makes my friend upset, and there was a lack of consideration, and I didn't see an apology of any sort. I sometimes feel inclined to act in those moments, for better or for worse. So very tactfully, I just went over to her and said like, "Hey, like that probably wasn't the best way to get footage of a shuffler. Probably the better way next time is to not be seen, and to wait till afterwards to let them know that you filmed them, and if they want the video and your intention behind it." But even with that, sometimes consent is weird. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's weird to get. It's weird. The whole consent, and people have different comfortability around this, but I think it is important to get consent for a video. So I'm gonna end the story there, and I'm just gonna throw it over to you. Kind of like how did that make you feel? What could have been done better? Just like through your lens, what did that experience mean to you? You know?
For sure. So me personally, I usually don't like being filmed unless it's something that obviously was agreed upon prior, or it's from someone who I kind of already know what their intentions are. Like you mentioned, like one of the homies. If one of the homies like records, and we know like, there's good intentions behind it. And it's not like, and obviously they would respect your space at the same time. Because when that instance happened, not only did, she bust the phone out with the flash on, which kind of took me out of the zone. But she was with someone as well, and they also came up right behind her, and I ran into them as I was like moving into my left. So it's really more about, I know we had talked about this before, but I don't believe that it's difficult to share a space and still be respectful, because like no matter where we go, where there's music to dance to, there's people who go for different reasons. So we go to dance, you know, someone could just go to chill and hang out, someone could go to drink, you know, it doesn't really matter. However, there's a way to go about, you know, sharing those spaces respectfully. So when you're in a dark club or space and you see someone dancing, putting a flash, you know, in their face is, I don't know. I wouldn't want to do that, because it takes away, not only does it take away from their experience, but it's also distracting. Like a random flashlight in the middle of a,
not just for the dancer involved or the person filming, anyone in that environment. You know what I mean? It's and I know it happens from time to time. Someone wants to film the DJ, and so long as it's not like in front of the DJ's face. Like I'm an artist liaison, and I deal with this all the time. Like people put their phone lights in the DJ's face, and then actually it's disorienting, and it can actually make them mess up. So it's like, that's when you go out to the crowd and you say, hey, like turn off the flash. But just like in general, like people having flash, like in a dark environment, having something flashing, unless it's something the DJ wanted, like put your phones up or whatever else, it can be distracting and taking, like you said, taking away from the experience, just the third party observers, not even just like the dancer. So but continue with that thought.
It can be very distracting. And another thing I know we had talked about before is when you're, I mean, whether you're in a zone or not, when you're kind of doing something that you love and you're passionate about, it's not something that you necessarily want to be interrupted in. And I've had experiences before where, you know, people have recorded me, but more so incognito. So I kind of didn't know that they were, which is fine. Like if I'm just dancing and having a good time, and, you know, your way of showing, like giving a compliment or appreciating whatever I'm doing is recording, whatever you do with the video is fine. But if you're like also taking away space from me that I already had, then that's what I'm not cool with. And another thing, an instance this happened to me before is, you know, I was dancing at a festival and someone had recorded a video of me, but they kind of stopped me dancing to show me a video that they recorded of me. And I, you know, that's another thing is, I don't, like I mentioned, I wouldn't want to be interrupted doing something that I'm really, you know, passionate about and enjoying. So honestly, it just comes down to being respectful of other people's space, because the events are not, it's for everybody. So I think we can, you know, coexist respectfully, and no one has to feel like their experience is being subtracted from by another person, because there's no preference. Like dancers have to find space to dance, and then, you know, but once we find it, it's not like we're performing for anyone. We're not out. We don't go out to dance to perform. Like we spent the same money on the ticket to enjoy this thing. So, you know, I think we should just try to be respectful of other people's spaces is all. So
yeah, that's, and I think that's huge too, 'cause it's like maybe, and I just want to caveat all of this, that I think shufflers give a lot of people grace in this category too. Like even though it's things that perturb us, some people just don't know any better, and even if we think that they ought to know any better, I still think we even give them grace in those situations as well. But it's totally true what you're saying, and I think the way to generalize that to the public is like, no one wants to be interrupted when they're doing something that they love. You know what I mean? That they absolutely love, and whether that be video games, you know, whether that be painting a picture, whether that be basket weaving, like no one wants to be taken out of that involuntarily. And then to your other point, And I think this is where maybe just like the average concert goer might just have another representation of dancing and of shuffling, is that and this is where I can't blame people, and I can't, and it's hard for me to really admonish their behavior, because like you've seen it at the club, like a dance circle opens and people are performing for one another. You know what I mean? It's like someone jump in the circle and perform for everyone else. Like it's kind of like a mating ritual and
Yeah.
stuff like that, like on a societal level. But it's like we are outcasts in that nature. It's like that's they're going that, and I'm generalizing here, but you know, from what I've seen, I work at clubs and things like that. Some people, or some club goers are going for the party and to be in that social environment, and then dance is a secondary priority, or maybe it's a tool to, you know, to be able to interact with one another, and they are there, it's being looked at as a performance in that lens. But shufflers are different. We are going to dance first, and then everything else comes secondary, or at least from like the friend group that we're in, and like what our intent is for when we go out and to connect with one another. You know what I mean? There's other things around that. So like I get it when people see us as shufflers and they're like, they're just performing for everyone. You know what I mean? But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's really like the connection with the music and the friendships. And like shuffling is kind of the glue to all of that. So I think it's our part to educate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Educate in that regard. And like you said, we talked a little bit about this before we got on the podcast. Like, it's totally okay if someone's like cheering us on in the background or in the peripherals, you know, because like that's to be expected too. I think when shufflers roll up, we're adding to the vibrations. You know what I mean? We're making it a more positive place, because like we're expressing ourselves and how the music's making us feel, and it gives other people permission to do the same thing around us. And so it's like it's always nice to hear that, like that's what's happening, the oohs and the ahs, and you know, like it's a good time. And even if people come and dance with us for a little bit and are calibrated about that, like it's encouraged, and like it's enjoyable. But it's where like the inconsideration then steps in, and I think there is kind of like blurry lines there, because everyone has different comfort levels. But it's tricky. It's tricky to tackle, but I think there are universal truths, such as not putting your phone in someone's face with the light on. You know what I mean? That's something that I think a lot of people can get behind. So I say all that to say, like, it's probably our job to continue to give grace in those scenarios, but also vocalize like what is not okay. You know what I mean? And then I think slowly but surely, these issues will kind of be resolved in rave culture and club culture and things like that. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Or are we done our TED talk?
I think that's it. I mean, it can get as deep as you want to get with it, but I think you know, just having consideration, and I think most of the interactions I've had have been good. Most even people will, you know, still ask for like consent. Can I record, or can I come dance with you guys?
Yeah, we are talking about kind of the exceptions. I will have to say
these are outliers for sure.
Yeah,
but they do stand out. However, most of the interactions I've had when it comes to rave culture or going out and dancing have been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah,
so these are just a couple of bad eggs. So
100%. And I guess I just want to open it up to the audience as well. If there's anything maybe you guys would want to hear about, like education wise, or maybe like I don't know, like a standard operating procedure for like, I guess just like shuffler etiquette, and maybe how to treat shufflers, and then but also for like how shufflers to put themselves in the best positions to be treated right as well. I would love to hear any thoughts, because like we've been talking about it a little bit, just like creating some kind of educational piece surrounding this, everything that we've just talked about. Just being considerate. I think the best way to frame it is being considerate about everyone's experience. You know what I mean? Like how can I be a net positive for everyone's experience in this environment versus a negative, you know? Like, and that even, yeah, that even goes, and this is like net positive and negative, where it's like, if there's something that you do that increases your experience, but it's detracting from someone else, probably shouldn't have done it. Like, let's raise all ships here, you know? So, yeah, interesting topic though. But, dude, I think we've been talking for quite a bit, and I know we could do this for hours, but I think we're gonna wrap up here soon. So if it's okay with you, let's move on to the world famous final five. All right, so this is the final five, where I will ask you five questions. I ask all my guests these five questions, and yeah, we'll. It's just to get to know you a little bit better, for myself and for the audience. So the first question is, what is your favorite musical genre?
Yep. I'm going to answer that in two parts.
Okay.
Because it's a little different for me. There's music to listen to and music to dance to. Sometimes it overlaps. But when it comes to music to dance to, it could be like for shuffling. We'll just stick with shuffling. It could be techno, mostly techno. I love house music as well. And then trance. And I know there's subgenres for each of those, but I'll just leave it at those, not to get too specific. And then still sometimes listen to and dance to like hip hop music. Not so much anymore, just because it's just not been a part of, the type of events I'm at or things like that anymore. And then, R&B, of course, and some alternative like rock, things like that. Yeah, stuff like that.
Got it. Wide palette, and for different reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Understood. Okay, next question. What is your favorite place to dance?
Favorite place? Yeah, I know I had mentioned this one before, but I really don't have one. It's kind of like, it's usually indoors. I mean, outdoors is fine too, but I found usually indoors because you don't have to worry about the weather. But usually just any place that has good music and good floors to dance on, it's just good for me. I don't think I have a place where I specifically prefer to go over others, but anywhere where I've had a good experience dancing, where I don't have to worry about little things like, is the floor too sticky, or do we have room to dance, or is the music going to be good? If those three things I don't have to worry about, then I would likely go back to that place any chance I can. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're one of the venturers in our group, when it's like, when we're all in a spot where we're all together, but it's probably not the best place for dancing. You're always the one who like puts his hand up, like, I'm gonna go dance. Who wants to come with me? Like,
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Next question. What is your favorite set, show, or festival attended?
Ooh, yeah. Do remember these, and I remember last time we talked about this, I had a little bit of a smaller list, but it kind of grew. First one would be EDC 2021, Lane 8. Second would be Hilo at Proper this past New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Third would be Space 92, which was in March. Was it March?
Yeah, that was like March 9th, because I know that Toph was playing a set that same night. Yeah, I think it was March 9th.
Okay. Yeah, couple months ago. Last month. Damn, it's only April. Almost May. Yeah, it's been a blur. Since I moved here. Next would be Christoph and Nicole Moderer. That was good.
That was at Real Works in Denver, right?
Yep. Next one would be Jeremy Olander, which was at Meow Wolf last month, or it was either early this month or last month. I think it was like on a Thursday or something, but no, it wasn't. That was on a Saturday. Okay. But yeah, that set was really good. I really love like anything melodic, whether it's techno, house, or trance. Like
Yeah,
that's
that
kind
kind of
of
like light energy to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really what yeah. Anything under that spectrum that's why I really like Christoph and Lane 8 obviously, and Jeremy Olander's under that spectrum as well. And also Simon Doty set was pretty good. I'd say it was up there as well. And then another one was Emily and Dee Dee's back to back set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was fun.
that one was really, really, really good.
That was an
So
amazing night, just overall. The ladies killed it for sure, but it was like our friend Bambi. He
yeah,
opened it up. Then Dee Dee's boyfriend Frick, who I've never seen play techno before, but he had like so much fun techno, some heavy hitting shit as
yeah,
well. And then Dee Dee and Emily, they're back to back in her DMs. They killed it, and they were yeah, a little bit of techno, a little bit of break beats.
oof,
Like it was just fun.
yeah. It was
they
yeah,
they curated a very cool environment, and it was Dee Dee's birthday too, and Fed's birthday. Happy belated birthday to both of y'all. Nah, very cool. It's cool that that was the first mention of a homie set
yeah,
being the favorite set. So hopefully we hear more of those in
for
the
sure.
future. Next question for you. What is your favorite book?
This one I really don't have because I haven't read like consistently since I was a child. Probably I used to read a lot more like young adult fantasy novels,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Even some sci-fi, but haven't really done that in a while. However, there's some books that I do want to read. Some of them being the Witcher books, and another being like the Halo books.
Yeah.
I've played the video games and have always heard good things about where those video games come from, where those the ideas in the books. So yeah, those I think I can just name those two without getting anything longer. So
Got it. Got it. Yeah. An interest in sci-fi though, it
yeah,
sounds like, and just like alternate universe type things.
for sure.
Understood, man. All right, final question for you. If you could put any message on the main stage production of a large scale festival such as EDC Las Vegas or Tomorrowland, what would that message say? There'd be tens of thousands of people viewing it.
Um, I think it would just be life is short, chase happiness. Um, yeah, that's right. It's kind of yeah.
Enough
I mean,
said.
not to. I mean, to elaborate, it's kind of you know, I understand that life is a crazy, amazing, tragic phenomenon, and
Fleeting.
yeah, not everyone will have the same experience. It's not fair either.
Mm,
You know, people are afforded things that others aren't, and vice versa. And no one has control over the cards you're dealt when you're born. However, if you do have the ability to chase things that you love, experience that you love, you should do so because
mm.
you will likely regret it later. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Make it as rich as you can, while you have it.
yeah,
And no, I think that would be very encouraging for those who are watching it. Um, sounds like something Lane 8 would throw up
yeah,
on his production. So that's very much lockstep with one of your favorite artists. All right, man. Well, that wraps up the final five. Dude, it's been such a pleasure having you back on. Like I said, I will never complain about the opportunity to like just talk to my friends, and I've gotten a lot out of this conversation. So thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners before we get out of here? Maybe, any stories or inspirations that you had along the way. That, we talked about a lot, but some
yeah,
things can kind of get lost here and there.
yeah. One, I remember us talking earlier about any like specific shufflers that stood out.
Yeah.
One thing that did come to my mind, this was before I had even decided like shuffling was a thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But two shufflers who I've now met in person here, coincidentally, they both
Mm-hmm.
live here, which is super dope. I saw videos of them online, and they stood out to me still to this day because I remember. But this was before it came to me. I still thought they were really good. But Sammy was one of them, and then also Jake. And like I said, the cool part about it now is I've met them both, and they're both super dope people.
Yeah.
So yeah, as like back to the point of what it's been for me is like the community, like the people I've met because of shuffling. Like shuffling's a part of their life, however big or small now. However, I found that they're just really, really dope people at the same time. So yeah. I think that's been the best part for me.
I think the shuffle community is one of the few communities where it's like you can meet your idols and have your expectations blown out of the water. You know what I mean? Instead of being disappointed, you know, you come to find that they're just humans, and you know they're genuine, and in most instances, you know, because you always hear about the horror stories of someone meeting their superhero, and it turns out like they shouldn't have, they ought to not have idolized them so much, because then they find out about their true character. Typically not the case with the shuffle community. So very cool to hear about. With that, man, this conversation has probably resonated with a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of people have, you know, listened to this. What's the best way for people to connect with you if they feel inspired by your story, some things that you said, or maybe just the talk shop?
Yeah, for sure. Just Instagram.
Okay.
I'm on there I don't have any other social media outside of TikTok, which I don't really use outside of looking for dog and cat videos. But yeah, just Instagram. Yeah, that'll work for me.
Got it. And we'll plug all that in the show notes and everything else that was mentioned. So, dude, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was. I'm really excited for this one to air. I think a lot was conveyed. So, I always enjoy talking to you, brother. Always enjoy. You know, I've enjoyed your presence here in Denver. It's been an absolute, you know, net positive for our community. And I thank you for that as well. So, we got a weekend wait, what day is it? It's Tuesday, right? What day is it? No, it's Friday.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Friday. Okay,
Yeah.
We got a weekend to get to.
Yeah.
So let's not take up any more time. And but yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. And
Appreciate it.
yeah, we'll get after it this weekend.
Will do.
Thank you for listening to the Shuffle Curious podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. We are past the launch, and I'm so appreciative of the support that the show has received. You guys have really stepped up in a huge way, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I know this is a big ask due to the show just starting, and it's very much in its infancy, but any and all support would really be amazing from you guys. So I just wanted to come on and list a couple ways that you guys can help out the podcast moving forward. So first and foremost, subscribing to the YouTube channel would be a huge help. Among, you know, also sharing and following the show on other social media platforms, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but in particular, YouTube will really help increase the visibility of the show, and it can help to reach a wider audience as well. In addition to this, leaving a review on anywhere where podcasts are distributed, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, can really leave a positive impression on new listeners, and it will help them discover the podcast more readily. Also, engaging with the podcast, so leaving comments, participating in social media discussions, and just anything that would really help build a community around the podcast would be of great assistance. And please feel free, you know, DM me my personal Instagram at Patty Creates, or the show's Instagram at the Shuffle Curious Podcast, with the spaces being underscores. I would love to hear any feedback, any ideas, any discourse around the show. It would be an honor to hear you guys out and you know, implement some of the ideas and the feedback that you guys have for me. Also, donating to the podcast directly or purchasing a Shuffle Curious shirt would help out a lot. there's a lot of time, there's a lot of energy, and unfortunately money that goes into the podcast. And it will continue to go into the podcast. So let's just get one thing straight here. It's really been a complete joy doing the show. And no matter how much or how little monetary assistance the show receives, we'll still be performing the mission of bringing the Shuffle community together. But with a little bit of help, I'll be able to travel more for these interviews, buy better equipment, be able to compensate all the amazing people who have made the show a reality and have volunteered their time, things of that nature. So buying a shirt would be much more than buying a shirt. And I don't know if you guys realize, but if I ever saw someone at a festival wearing a Shuffle Curious podcast shirt, you would be my best friend in a huge way. I'd love to see it, and I'd give you a big bear hug. So you can purchase these shirts on the Instagram bio of the show, also the show's website, and then I'll have links in the show notes as well. As for the donation, just please, send me a DM if you feel inclined to donate to the show. I will definitely entertain that, and if you're so inclined, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm not going to create a button for donating to the show or GoFundMe or anything like that. It would just be a conversation between you and I. So, and I thank you for that consideration. But lastly, you guys have supported the show just by listening. Also listening to this whole outro, that's awesome. You guys rule for doing that. And I just cannot understate my appreciation for all of you guys for being a part of this crazy ride that it's been so far. So without further ado, I wanted to get on, give you guys a couple of ways that you can support. You can run with as many or as little of them as you would like, but I thank you, regardless for your listenership and support. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. Please get out there and dance, stay curious, and I will see you in the next episode, friend.